Every industry and every production process requires something to make it go. Populations are increasing around the world. It's not going to change anytime in the near future. It's really important for us to diversify the fuel sources that we have. We're not going to fly planes on batteries anytime in the near future. We need to bridge from our situation now of liquid fossil fuels to that new energy source of the future. So with fossil fuels, we have to punch holes in the ground and pump it. In the case of biofuels, we have to grow that material. When I talk to a lot of people about the opportunity of making jet fuel out of slash, it seems almost unfathomable. Because when you look at a slash pile in the woods, it seems so far from an advanced product like a jet fuel.
A forest is a very good way to sequester carbon and then to produce carbon that you can use in a sustainable way. Every ton of renewable carbon that you're taking from a forest and using, you're leaving a ton of carbon in the ground. Forestry is a really good way of doing this sustainably.
What we like to do is use all the parts of the forest for as many value-added products as possible. When you harvest a log, you have the tops and the limbs, because those aren't going to go into a piece of lumber. So right now they're left on the land.
When you burn a biofuel, you can emit CO2, absorb it in the plants, and then harvest it and re-emit it. You can do that forever. You're actually using solar power to generate your carbon, which you then emit and then you reabsorb.
The aviation industry is really squarely behind biofuels.
Airlines need sustainable fuels because petroleum fuels are running out. We don't know how quickly, but we know that certainly they are. And in the short term, the prices are increasingly volatile. At least for the coming 20, 30, maybe 40 years, liquid fuels are what we are stuck with. And so we need alternatives, we need sustainable alternatives.
If you look at an automobile, there's a long way to go in fuel efficiency and lightweighting to get your first cut of saving CO2, and then you can bring in biofuels. If you go to aviation, planes are already super lightweight. They've been refined and lightweighted for years. You can't go to batteries and electric planes. The only thing you can do is replace the hydrocarbon fuel from fossil with a biofuel. It's going to end up having to be done.
For aviation in particular, it takes a very high energy density to fuel an airplane. It also takes fuels that will stand up to cold temperatures at high altitude. And we find that actually fuel that is derived from plants can meet those requirements actually better than what we derive from petroleum.
There is a lot of parts and pieces to get from that pile all the way to a clean fuel. So what we're hoping to build is a biofuels industry in the Northwest. And so what gets you along that pathway is a supply chain. Today, when we go into a stand and harvest, we're doing it for logs, for lumber, for veneers, for pulp and paper after that. All those are higher value products, actually. And so what we would utilize for biofuels is actually what's left over. To get that material out of the woods and to an accessible road. You get that transported from that location to some centralized facility where you can start to do work on that material to clean it.
With the harvest residues, they're on the forest floor, so what we'll do is we'll collect those and bring them to a plant site. They get prepared with things like chipping, cleaning, drying, and then they get put into a reactor system. And that conversion process breaks it into sugars and it breaks it into lignin. And the sugar stream then goes into a fuel, and the lignin can go into high value product like an activated carbon. You can end up making products that go into things like batteries, filtration, tires, so things that we use every day. We're able then to get two streams of value out of something that's currently now not used.
Boeing engages in this space in a number of ways. We sponsor and involved in projects that are developing the technologies that we need to make these aviation biofuels affordable, scalable, and sustainable. We work with partners such as WSU who have the skills and capabilities to make those technologies happen.
There have been more than 1,500 flights with real passengers on board powered by biofuel. The fuel is absolutely safe. We wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't. What seemed impossible 5 years ago is looking not only feasible but attractive to many people now.
The goal right now is how do we make this economically feasible? How do we make this and compete with petroleum products? What is going to get us there is tremendous efficiencies at every single step of the way.
Instead of large-scale petroleum refineries, and you'd see smaller-scale integrated biorefineries. And upstream of those, you'd be seeing farms and forests.
I expect that sustainable biofuel will be a large part, if not the predominant part, of the fuel that's used for aviation.
Washington State is really a unique place to develop this biofuels industry.
In the Pacific Northwest, we have abundant resources that are ready to be converted to fuels. We're not called the Evergreen State for nothing. We're uniquely positioned.
We have the inherent natural resources and an industry and communities which have traditionally been based on these. We have the other side of the market in terms of the aviation industry. We have a spirit of innovation, and we have an ethic of sustainability, of utilization of our resources.
At WSU, there's a strongly integrated view of how to bring these different research areas together. It's very easy for Boeing to work with WSU because it's so well organized and has such a strong direction to where they're going.
I'm delighted to be here today to announce that WSU will be the home of a new FAA Center of Excellence. This Center of Excellence will bring together scientists and business leaders from across the country.
We at Boeing are excited that FAA awarded the Center of Excellence because it validates our commitment to work with WSU, and it's an endorsement of the leadership and direction that's coming out of our region.
These sort of centers of excellence are important because what they do is they bring so many people in that we in the FAA don't have. WSU, with its expertise in biofuel, made for an incredible team. I see for the Pacific Northwest an incredible growth for our economy.
These communities that had a sawmill, had a pulp facility, and has lost jobs. The people that live in those communities also are the people that operate the trucks, operate the harvesting equipment. And so it's going to mean more jobs and more employment utilizing our existing facilities, revitalizing these communities, and ultimately it's going to pay huge dividends in our region and huge dividends to our citizens.
We at Boeing are excited to be working with WSU because we believe that working together we can produce sustainable outcomes and positive benefits for the Northwest region.